Sri Jata Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavangsha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raganatang Bitang Tang Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Sri Krishna Chaitanya-devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Bishakan Bitangscha Gaura Guru Gandharva Govindang Gringanai Saha Vande Prasadato Yesham Sabha Ramba Subhankara Gaura Bhagvigraham Vande Gaurangam Gauravaibhavam Gaura Sankirtanomatam Gaura Karunya Sundaram Guru Rupa Harim Gauram Radha Ruchi Ruchavritam Nityam Nomi Navadipe Nama Kirtana Nartanai Adanana Stiram Dantaridam Jache Puna Puna Srimad Rupa Padamboja Dulisham Janma Janmani Srimad Prabhu Padamboja Madhupepyo Namo Namaha Inindantam Kulakot Korena Bikasam Nipa Prasunachchavim Prodrikritva Bujadvayam Hari Hari Itu Chaividantam Muhu Nityantam Drutamasru Nirjara Chaye Sinchantam Urvitalam Gayantam Nija Parasadaya Parivratam Sri Gaura Chandram Namah. In the Radha-rasa-sudha-nidhi of Prabhodananda Saraswati Thakur, some 270 verses glorifying Srimati Radharani. As Bilva Mangal Thakur, Krishna-karna-amritam, you can say, depending on how you, a similar number, glorifying Krishna. But Prabhodananda Saraswati, he writes almost 300 verses glorifying Srimati Radharani. What is the first verse? The one I just said, the Nindantam Pulakot, about Mahaprabhu. So there are some that say, this book's supposed to be about Radha. Why is first verses to Mahaprabhu? So they say, maybe that was added. No, it must be about Mahaprabhu. Jadi Gaur Nohoita Tabiki Hoita Kamone Daritam Dehe Radhar Mahima Prema Rasa-sima Jagata Janata Ke. Without Mahaprabhu, we wouldn't know about Radharani and her glories. Her Radhar Mahima and Prema Rasa-sima. The glories of Radharani and the limits of her limitless Krishna-prem maha-bhav swarupini Radha Thakurani. So, no, the first verse must be about Maha. That's not some offensive person. Oh, maybe the Gaudiyas added that later. Okay? Just proving to not appreciate what is the actual truth. So before I continue, on this day, 40 years ago or so, I got the inspiration I thought, it's Radhashtami. Why not record Guru Maharaj and Gurudev singing these songs? I'm glad I did. And so I put a mic on Guru Maharaj and mic on Gurudev, because first I thought, well, Gurudev's going to be, I thought, no, both. And that's why you can hear. So they're sitting there, and Srila Gurudev at Guru Maharaj's side, as always, like Lalita Sakhi and Radharani, and Guru Maharaj, he'll talk, and Guru Maharaj will say, sing this. And then Gurudev will sing that, beginning with Radhe, Jaya, Jaya, Madhava-dayite. Then Guru Maharaj, it's Guru Maharaj's playlist, his Radhashtami playlist. That's why this is so significant. And I don't think anyone can compare to the two of them on this joyous occasion. So we will first hear that and sing along, and then have some praise and glorification afterwards. Be a few songs. Yes.
Radhe Jaya Jaya
Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava-dayite
Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava-dayite
Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava-dayite
Radhe Jaya Jaya ধনবেশে
রাধে জয় রাধে জয় রাধে
শশী রেখে
ভানু দধি নব শশী লেখে
ভানু দধি নব শশী রেখে
ললিতা সখী গুণ রমিত বিশাখে
other things for extended periods of time, they go to the next one. And the way the mridanga is being played, you can assume these things in the presence of Guru Maharaj, they're very carefully vetted. Guru Maharaj is upstairs, the Nath Mandir is down here. If something's going on, a type of kirtan or playing or kartals or whatever it be, and from upstairs the word would sometimes come down to not do that or to adjust. So he's The mridanga players, their Guru Maharaj has a tight leash, the way things are being, and under Gurudev's enforcing, so that will all be done according to what is appreciated by Srila Guru Maharaj. So it's not random, is what I mean to say. And we should observe how they do things, and here a little bit of imitation is good in the sense they do it this way, we try to do it that way. We'll never do it this wonderfully, but if that's the target, then all will be forgiven. Okay, now it's Virajir. Okay, in the book I'm in, it's on page 217. Song 2. Virajir pare suddha-paravyoma-dham.
বিরজার পারে শুদ্ধ পরব্রহ্মধাম বিরজার পারে শুদ্ধ পরব্রহ্মধাম মধুপরি ত্রিগোকুল বৃন্দারণ্যনা মধুপরি ত্রিগোকুল বৃন্দারণ্যনা মধুপরি ত্রিগোকুল বৃন্দারণ্যনা মধুপরি ত্রিগোকুল বৃন্দারণ্যনা বৃন্দাবন চিন্তামণি চিদানন্দ রত্ন খনি চিন্তামণি চিদানন্দ রত্ন খনি মাঝে চমৎকার কৃষ্ণ বনস্পতি নীলমণি চমাল জন এক স্বর্ণময়ী লতা এক স্বর্ণময়ী লতা সর্বধাম জয়ী এক স্বর্ণময়ী লতা সর্বধাম জয়ী আছে পরম পাবনী আছে পরম পাবনী আদিনী শক্তির সার মহাভাব নাম যা ভাবিনী শক্তির সার মহাভাব নাম যা মোহন মোহিনী রাধা নামে পরিচিত খুশিয়াদের উন্নতিত রাধা নামে পরিচিত খুশিয়াদের উন্নতিত রাজয় পরম আনন্দে রাজয় পরম আনন্দে সেই লতা পত্র ফুল ললিতা সখী এই লতা পত্র ফুল হবে দৃঢ় বাঁধে লতার ওপর সেই প্রফুল্ল কমল লতা ছাড়ি নাহি রহে কোনো কাল লতার ওপর সেই প্রফুল্ল কমল লতা ছাড়া নাহি রহে কোনো কাল কমল ছাড়িয়া লতা নাহি বাঁচে সে লতা মিলন সদা কালো যাচ্ছে কমল ছাড়িয়া লতা নাহি বাঁচে লতা সদা কালো যাচ্ছে ভক্তি বিনোদ মিলন দোহার না চাহে তখন বিনা কিছু ভক্তি বিনোদ মিলন দোহার না চাহে বিনা কিছু রমণী রসি
To say, but we'll also say, if you're listening to this line which said, Radha name parichita tushiya Govinda chita, who is known by the name of Sri Radha, shining and great. You think, Srila Guru Maharaj, no, I don't want. Okay. I'll use that when I'm going to speak. I don't want to record my singing, ruin this. When Guru Maharaj says that, who's known by the name, he's crying. He's taking the name of Srimati Radharani and he's crying. He can't help but cry when he's taking her name. That's who he is. When I think of her, I lose my existence. Who can say such a thing? Srila Guru Maharaj has said such a thing. Right? It's not to be imitated, right? But I'm just pointing it out. The next one is Radhika-charana-padma.
Radhika-charana-padma sakala sero sadma.
Radhika-charana-padma sakala sero sadma.
Jatane je nahi aradhilo.
Nahi aradhilo.
Radha-bhajan Kirtan jarena.
Radha-bhajan Kirtan Vrindavan-jarena.
Kahajna asaya korilo.
Kahajna asaya korilo.
Radhika bhava gambhira chitta jeva mahadhiro.
Radhika bhava gambhira chitta jeva mahadhiro.
Gana sangana kaila jivane.
Gana sangana kaila jivane.
Kamone se shyamananda ratha sindhu snanananda.
Kamone se shyamananda ratha sindhu snanananda.
Lohibe budhaya komone.
Lohibe budhaya komone.
Radhika ujjala rasera acharya.
Radhika ujjala rasera acharya.
Radha Madhava Sudha Prema Vicharya.
Radha Madhava Sudha Prema Vicharya.
Ye dharila Radha Pada Parama Jatane.
Ye dharila Radha Pada Parama Jatane.
Ye paila Krishna Pada Yamulya Ratane.
Ye paila Krishna Pada Yamulya Ratane.
Radha Pada Bina Prabhu Krishna nahi le.
Radha Pada Krishna nahi le.
Radha Shri Krishna Sarva Vede Bole.
Radha Shri Krishna Sarva Vede Bole.
Surata Dhanna Jana Kalatra Sutamita.
Surata Dhanna Jana Kalatra Sutamita.
Surata Karama Deya.
Surata Karama Deya.
Radha Pada Pankaj Madhurata Sevana.
Radha-bhajane Madhurata Sevana.
Bhakti Vinoda Parama.
Bhakti Vinoda Parama.
What is the next one? Okay.
Radhakundatata-kunjakutira.
Radhakundatata-kunjakutira.
ধন পর্বত যমুনা তীর
রাধাকুণ্ডাতা ধন পর্বত যমুনা তীর
সরোবর মানস গঙ্গা গোবিন্দ নন্দিনী তরঙ্গা
কুসুম সরোবর
Recording stopped.
গঙ্গা গোবিন্দ নন্দিনী বিপুল তরঙ্গা
কুসুম সরোবর মানস গঙ্গা গোবিন্দ নন্দিনী বিপুল তরঙ্গা
কুসুম সরোবর মানস গঙ্গা গোবিন্দ নন্দিনী বিপুল তরঙ্গা
বংশীবট গোকুল ধীর সমীর বৃন্দাবন তরুণ পিতা ভনীর
বংশীবট ধীর সমীর আবন তরুলতিকা কনীর
অগমিত ফুল মলয় বাতাস ময়ূর ভ্রমর মুরলী বিলাস
মৃগ ফুল মলয় বাতাস মুরলী বিলাস
বেলু সিংহ পদ চিহ্ন মেঘমালা বসন্ত শশাঙ্ক শঙ্খ করতালা
বসন্ত শঙ্খ শঙ্খ করতালা
যুগল বিলাসে অনুকূল জানি লাবিলাস
রাধে অনুকূল জানি
সব ছোরত কাহা নাহি যাও
সব ছোরত কহান
হারাও
সব ছোরত কাহা নাহি যাও এ সব ছোরত পরাণ হারাও
সব ছোরত কাহা নাহি যাও সব ছোরত পরাণ হারাও
সব ছোরত কাহা নাহি যাও এ সব ছোরত পরাণ হারাও
পথ আমার পরাণ
নদ কহে কান দীপক আমার পরাণ কহে শুন কান তুয়ারু দীপক আমার পরাণ
রাধা ভজনে যদি মতি নাহি নিভেলা কৃষ্ণ ভজন তব অকারণে গেলা
রাধা ভজনে যদি মতি নাহি ভেলা কৃষ্ণ ভজন তব অকারণে গেলা
আতপ রহিত সূরজ নাহি জানি রাধা বিরহিত মাধব নাহি মানি
আতপ রহিত সূরজ নাহি জানি রাধা বিরহিত মাধব নাহি মানি
কেবল মাধব বিজয় প্রজ্ঞানী
কেবল মাধব জয় স্বজ্ঞানী
রাধায়নাদর করই অভিমানী
রাধায় করয় করয় অভিমান
কবহি নাহি কর বিচার কর সঙ্গ চিত্তে ইচ্ছসি যদি ব্রজর সরঙ্গ
অবৈ নাহি কর বিকা কর সঙ্গ চিত্তে ইচ্ছসি যদি ব্রজর সরঙ্গ
রাধিকা দাসী যদি হয়ে অভিমান শীঘ্রই মিলই তব গোকুল কান
রাধিকা দাসী যদি হয়ে অভিমান শীঘ্রই লই তব গোকুল
ব্রহ্মা শিব নারদ শ্রুতি নারায়ণী ব্রহ্মা
শিব নারদ শ্রী নারায়ণ
রাধিকা পদ রজ পূজয়ে মানি
রাধিকা পদ রজ পূজয়ে মানি
রমা সত্যা সতী চন্দ্রারুচিনী রাধায় অবতার সবে আম নয়বাণী
উমা রমা সত্যা সতী চন্দ্রা রুক্মিণী রাধায় অবতার সবে আমনায় বাণী
রাধা পরিচর্যা যা কর ধন
পরিচর্যা
ভগতি বিনগতার মগই চরণ
ভগতি বিনোদ তাঁর মাগয়ে চরণ
রাধা ভজনে যদি মতি নাহি ভেলা কৃষ্ণ ভজন কবয় কারণে গেলা
রাধা ভজনে যদি মতি নাহি ভেলা কৃষ্ণ ভজন তব আমি তো সানন্দ সুখদেবাস
Bhaktivinoda Thakur taking himself as a resident of Swananda Sutta Kunja. Where on the parikrama we visit Surabhi Kunja, the locals call it Swarupganj, Godruma Dweep, Godruma Kanan. And you hear him in various songs of Bhaktivinoda Thakur refer to Krishna as Khan. The nicknames of Radha and Krishna, she is called Rai, he is called Khan. They're short, and sweet, endearing names for one, and we see that is the name that comes from the heart of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So Krishna consciousness is a celebration of the heart of Srimati Radharani. That's what it is. It's a celebration of the heart of Srimati Radharani. All of this is an extension of her heart. And say, Vrindavan Jaranam Padman Kitadam, Radha Padman Kitadam Vrindavan Jaranam. What is Vrindavan proper? We'll say generally, well, it's decorated with the lotus footprints of Krishna. And that is true. But Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying, but really, if we look more closely, what is the nature of that soil? It is embellished by the lotus footprints of Srimati Radharani. Right? That's the long and short of it. So, Hare Krishna. We all wonder, if Krishna is God, he's the supreme, you say, supreme personality, why someone else's name before Krishna's name? Shouldn't we just say his name directly? Why Hare Krishna? Why always say Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna? In those two words, everything is there, everything we need to know. Because without Hare, that's the Radha-bhajane, you're wasting your time. If you're trying to worship Krishna and not her, if your Krishna-bhajan doesn't culminate in Radha-bhajan, what did you think? You're wasting your time. I mean, these songs, it's amazing. They're very sweet, and especially when you hear Srila Gurudev sing them, but some of the things they're saying are very shocking in one sense. To them, these things are just manifesting from the heart of Bhaktivinoda Thakur and subsequently from the hearts of all of those in the Bhaktivinoda Paribar. in his line, his group. But, he's saying, your Krishna-bhajan, without her, a waste. Right? Waste of time. Let me say, it's kind of an outrageous statement, but elsewhere, in the Bhagavatam, I remember when we first heard the second canto, Sukadeva Goswami, all of these slokas where he's saying, those eyes that do not behold the form of Krishna are like the peacock plume. Those tongues that don't vibrate the glories of Krishna are like the croaking of frogs. The ear hole of snakes can't hear. Going through one sense after another and saying these extreme statements that really telling us, Rishikesha Rishikena Sevanam. Really, the senses, it's not an option that you can exercise. The senses, they're there for Krishna, Rishikesh, to see the divine form of Krishna, to hear about Krishna, and ultimately even the touch of Krishna, the taste, all of the whole, this is the great, the astonishing reality of the senses and their ultimate use and perfection. Govinda, Krishna, that is what we are seeking, either directly or indirectly. Vyatire kyabyam, and one of the four nutshell slokas. Everything, either directly or indirectly. Directly or indirectly, we're all engaged in the search for Sri Krishna, who's the fulfillment of all the senses. Anyway, but Sukadev saying that, this very heavy style, you can say. And so I used to think sometimes like, oh, well, when we were the brahmacharis, we also were kind of really heavy with people about like pushing Krishna consciousness, and if you're not doing this, you're wasting your life, you're wasting your time. And sometimes when they would bring that to Prabhupada, they'd say, some of your devotees are really, fanatics, or they say these extreme things, and sometimes it's a little rough or rude, or appears to be callous or insensitive, to the sentiments of others. Then I'm reading the Chaitanya-charitamrita and the Madhya Lila, and where Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami is, he's in his 90s, he's arthritic, he's legally blind, and the greatest literature to ever seen the light of day in all time, all space, and all creations is flowing through him by the grace of Madan Gopal, Madan Mohan, and all the Guru Varga, Vaishnava, we told you, isn't it, Raghunath, Swarup, from Rupa to Lalit, like, it's so beautiful and perfect. But they're so humble, he doesn't think, oh, of course, will happen, it's the will of, he's thinking, maybe I won't live to finish this. I have the grace of all, but I don't know if I will live to express all these things that have come to me by the grace of Raghunath Das, via Swarup Damodar, and the interior bhajan chamber, the Gangbhir of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, plunging the depths of Radha-bhav, Radha-bhava-duti subalita. This is unparalleled, that the Supreme Personality of Godhead takes the position of his supreme devotee to experience Krishna consciousness. That Krishna also wants to be a devotee of Krishna. That's how exalted devotion to Krishna is. Krishna himself hankers for that position. The devotees never hanker for his position. Enjoyer, supreme controller, everything to go. Never. There's no such parallel. But devotion is so great, and her devotion, it reigns supreme. So Gurudev once said, in that, what is it? The song Guru Maharaj liked him to sing about, anyway, I'll think about, but no, about the heart of Srimati Radharani being a lighthouse of Krishna-prem. Tunga Mani Mandire, It's not in the book. That's one of the, when Gurudev came to Guru Maharaj and he knew that, Guru Maharaj said, you put that on the shelf for a while, and ticked off these songs. You learned these songs of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Guru Maharaj saying, that should keep him busy for some time. You know, this brisky one. Gurudev comes back like within a week, he knows all 30 that Guru Maharaj ticked off. Anything else? But Gurudev would tell me sometimes when devotees, when he told me like, they can no longer directly approach Srila Guru Maharaj. Like, because it was disturbing him. So he came to explain how we're going to do things in the future. And he said to me, you know, before I say anything to Srila Guru Maharaj, I see what is his mood. He said, then I decide whether or not I will say what or maybe I won't say it at that time. You know. So we know Guru Maharaj cannot tolerate separation from Srila Gurudev, Srila Govinda Maharaj, but sometimes Gurudev has to go to Kolkata. And we know he'll go in the car, and at the Gauranga Setu bridge, Hari Charan will run the shortcut, be waiting there and say, you have to come back, and so many things. But so Gurudev told me, but sometimes he knows how to put Guru Maharaj into a good mood. And by that we mean like a really good mood. So he would sing the song Tunga Mani Mandire, which was one of the ones Guru Maharaj told him to put on the shelf for a while. But every now and then Guru Maharaj asked him to sing that. And when I asked Gurudev on his last visit to Navadip, I said, what does it mean? And he said, very beautiful. He said that the heart of Srimati Radharani is like a lighthouse of Krishna-prem. I mean, like, oh. Right? Guru Maharaj said, faith is the halo of Srimati Radharani. Right? Nomi jite abra bapu se taridambaraya. Krishna abra bapu, like the monsoon rain clouds, Shama Sundar, not so easy to see or identify. But Taridambaraya, in his lightning yellow dress, when he's dressed with his Sladini Shakti, with Radharani by his side, she's illuminating Krishna conception. That's how this works. Right? She's revealing Krishna and all of those in her line. So Bhagavan was saying, so you don't include her in your so-called Krishna-bhajan? You're wasting your time. You're deluded. You're pursuing what do you say, fiction. It's fictitious. So those who seem to express so much praise toward Krishna, but not towards her, dismissed by the genuine devotees. What did he say there? Abhiman means it's ego. Right? Matsarja, envy. Very beginning of the Bhagavatam. Dharmak projita kaitabo chaparamo nirmat saranam satam. Nirmat sarja. Saying the secret, the entrance to Krishna conception, if you possess envy of his devotee, and by extension that means of the supreme devotee, then you cannot enter into the mysteries of Krishna conception. It only comes by singing the Radhar Mahima Prema Rasasima, singing the praise of devotees and of the supreme devotee, Srimati Radharani. So Guru Maharaj, and so just to finish that. So when I'm reading the Madhava-dayite and Kaviraj Goswami saying, all right, so in one chapter, I'll give it all in a condensed way. And if I live, I'll fluff that out, which he does. But so that's the importance of Madhya 2, 3, that section. And Gurudev could sing all the verses of that, 70 or so. That's the Chaitanya-charitamrita in the most condensed form. That's where things like Na prema gandasti darapi meharo krandami sobhagya baram prakasham. Remember, Mahaprabhu is echoing it's Krishna enveloped by the heart and halo of Radharani, Radha-bhava-dayite subalita, and he's expressing the sort of feelings that she has, maha-bhav swarupini Radha Thakurani. And what does she say? There's so many in this world that want to make an ostentatious display of achievement. What does the greatest devotee say? Na prema gandhasti darapi mehoro. I don't have a scent of the fragrance of Krishna-prem. What to speak of a drop of that divine substance. That's what the greatest devotee of all time says. I don't have a scent of the fragrance of Krishna-prem. What to speak of a drop of that divine substance. So those who make an ostentatious display of achievement are suspect. Right? If the greatest devotee, and Mahaprabhu, enveloped by the heart and halo of Srimati Radharani, he's echoing the same sense. So that's in that section. But what is also there is Srimati Radharani mirroring what Sukadev says. So we can say, well, Sukadev, the fanatical brahmachari, monks, they... No, here she is saying, if your eyes don't see Krishna, why do you have eyes? What are you doing with your eyes if you're not seeing the divine form of Krishna? If you don't hear the sound of Krishna's name? In certain places when they're describing Srimati Radharani, they say her earrings vibrate Krishna Nam. The Chintamani earrings decorating her lotus ears, they're vibrating Krishna Nam and Shama Nam to her. How lost and Radharani and her group are so extreme that Govinda said, she once said to Krishna, we're not afraid of you. We're actually not afraid of you. But what we are afraid of is your flute. That we have a problem. With you, not so much. It's the flute. So she called a meeting of all the gopis and she said, I know what is the source of all of our problems. Oh yeah. They're listening. She said, it's the flute. Like, yes, that is the problem. He sounds the flute, Gayatri, Murlis, Kirtan, and then everyone's leaving their families, giving up everything, and running in the dead of night to Krishna. And so many other things. So she said, what we need to do, we know he's omniscient and omnipotent and all-seeing and all-knowing, but maybe when he's distracted, and Radharani can distract Krishna. Hare means that, one meaning. Like Krishna, Hare, thief, stealer. Hare, she can mind steal Krishna, steal Krishna's mind. And he may sometimes drop his flute when his mind has been stolen by her. Then grab the flute and then take the flute away, and then we can all be happy in our lives. So then I think, what's going on in the spiritual world? In that place, if they have these kind of ishtagostis, right? The gopi ishtagosti, conspiracy to capture the flute and put an end to these problems, this life we're leading. So anyway, there, she's condemning senses one by one if they're not full of Krishna conception. And so then I thought, just like Sukadev in the Bhagavad, and if you look in the purport there, Srila Saraswati Thakur, he quotes the Sukadev Goswami section of the second canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam to show us the parallels. So we saw the Radha-rasa-sudha-nidhi. Just the title of the book is too much. The Radha-rasa-sudha-nidhi, that's the title of that collection of those slokas of Prabhodananda Saraswati Thakur. And so, it was praise of Mahaprabhu. But then we look, the beginning of the science of devotion, the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, the book of devotion from Sri Rupa Goswami. The first verse, what does it say? Akhila Rasamrita Murti. Saying, Krishna, he's rasa personified. He's reciprocating all rasas with everyone, whether as Krishna or his extent, as and Dwaraka, and as Ram in Ayodhya, as Narayan in Vaikuntha, he's Akhila Rasamrita Murti. That's who Krishna is. But what were we going to say before? No, that Prabhupada used to say it, and it was told to Guru Maharaj, and he laughed and celebrated the same thing. He's saying, without Radharani, Krishna is not so beautiful. We're saying, wait, he's in, Kandarpa Koti Kamaniya Visheshas, that Krishna, who's inconceivably young Shama Sundaram Achintya Guna Swarup of Krishna, is not so beautiful without Radharani at his side. Krishna wants that to be known, right? Because when Radharani is at the side of Krishna, then he's Swayam Bhagavan Krishna in his fullest expression of beauty, charm, sweetness, and highest aspect of rasa. At the side of others, inconceivably beautiful, but not the way he, and if we want to say this, in this world, sometimes people who are extraordinary, they're local Bhagavans, they're rich, they're wealthy, they're intelligent, they have the Aiswarja, Samagrasya, Virya, etc. Qualities. They'll say like, they're searching for someone with whom they can be themselves. In other words, they're admitting that in certain contexts they have to hold back. They're not entirely comfortable just being themselves as they are. Right? That's a perverted reflection in this world. There's a version of that with Krishna. He can only fully be Krishna to the extreme, to the nth degree, Swayam Bhagavan Krishna, at the right hand of Srimati Radharani. There's no greater quality of Krishna or quantity of Krishna than is achieved at the side of Srimati Radharani. Therefore, the devotees are understanding that they're always pushing her forward. They know, you can say, the constitutional position or the constitutional capacity of a jiva soul. Even in the premic world, the experience prem, it goes up to, we have sneho, man, pranay, pranay, rag, anurag, bhav, maha-bhav. So it's bhav, that stage. And this is something wonderful and extraordinary. That's the capacity. But only she can bring out maha-bhav, that level of emotion. She's the Hladini Shakti. Right? So, what does it say? Prem, Sar, Bhav, Bhav, Sar, Hladini Shakti, Sar, Prem, Bhav, Sar, Maha-bhav. Anyway, that's sloka in Charitamrita. So, when Srila Guru Maharaj is mentioning Srila Saraswati Thakur's position on that, and we could say, by the way, that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said about Radhashtami, he said, oh, the best day of the year has come. Sri Barsha Banavi Devi Doitaya, how he's an exclusive devotee, advocate, promoter of Srimati Radharani. So, on the Braja Mandal Parikrama, many things were revealed there. One is there was a devotee, Guru Maharaj said, pet disciple of Saraswati Thakur, Paramananda Prabhu, came when he was like 12. You can imagine, and he's very sweet and charming, and also discovering so many things on the Brajamandal Parikrama with Prabhupada Saraswati Thakur. And he, there in Radhakunda, he sees this local Maharaja and Maharani, king and queen. They and their family members, they're bowing down at Radhakunda, and you can circumambulate by walking, or some say a prayer, bow down, give a Shastanga Dandavat, mean totally flat, then move up one body length, stand up again, say another prayer. I know they used to do the Radha-rasa-sudha-nidhi, each slogan. There are various ways, but Samkhya Purvaka Namagana Nativi, we're not saying you should do that. The Goswamis may have done. Anyway, he observed this. So he sees a Maharaja and a Maharani doing this. And he's surprised and runs back to Saraswati Thakur and he says, Prabhu, they have so much regard for what they're doing, like that type of Dandavat Parikrama. He's astonished to see that. And he said, and he's a little surprising, they have so much regard for Srimati Radharani. And Saraswati Thakur says to him, yes. He said, but there is a big difference between them and us. He said, they are worshipping Radharani because she is dear to Krishna. Right? She's Krishna-Priya. He's saying, but we are worshipping Krishna because he is dear to Srimati Radharani. That is the difference. And that is a big difference. They're worshipping her because she's dear to Krishna. We're worshipping Krishna because he's dear to her. It's a big difference. When you come to the lotus feet of Srila Guru Maharaj, this becomes impressed upon your heart. No matter how long you've been pursuing Krishna consciousness, this becomes impressed upon your heart. And you realize you're undergoing some kind of a transformation, a shift from Krishna to the one who is Prabhu Priya. And as Shastric evidence, Sakshat Hare Tena Samasta Shastre Ruktastatha Bhavyatyeva Saddhi. And all this Shastra is saying, Krishna, Sakshat Hare, directly, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Well, that's like, Kintu, but, hold that thought, Kintu Prabhu Priya. Yeah. The shift will go from Prabhu, Krishna, to Prabhu Priya, the one who is most dear to Krishna. Tadeva Hyachuta Priya. Narada is telling Vyasa, you need to glorify her. Her position needs to be understood. Therefore, Srimad Bhagavatam. Nirmat Saranam Sadami. Non-envious of her. You can't eliminate her from your Krishna conception or you're wasting your time. You're misled. You're misconceiving. Right? So he tells them that. And generally, Saraswati Thakur, you have the Vaishnavas and the Shaktas. He may know something about the Shaktas. Means those who worship Devi. Ma Kali, Durga Devi, that's Shakti. And on the Shiv Shakti side of things, the Shaktas and the Vaishnava, generally some sort of opposition is there. But here, Srila Saraswati Thakur, he said, we are Shaktas. And I'm like, what? He said, Shuddha Shaktas. No, we're not worshipping Ma Kali and Durga Devi as supreme. We are revering them. We're not dismissing them either. That's in Sanatana Goswami's take on the Dasnama Aparad. Not to dismiss either. That we learned from Srila Gurudev. But we don't see them, we said, we are Shuddha Shaktas. Because they are reflections of Devi, Goddess. So, Radharani, what are we told in Charitamritam? She's the source of all. The Angshini, this side. As Krishna is the source, Baladev, Vasudev, Sanskarshan, Pradyumna, Aniruddha, second quadruple, Maha-Vishnu, Gauranga, Vishnu, Kirtan, all these avatars, Lila avatars, Purusha avatars, that side. on her side, who everyone Ananda Chinmaya Rasa Pratibhavitabhis Tabirye Vinijirupataya Kalavi Goloka Eva Nivisat Akilatma Bhuto Govinda Maripurusham Tamaham Vajami. The Lakshmis of Vaikuntha, remember the gods, the goddesses of this world, they're the shadow, Chayeva Yasya Bhuvanani Vibharti Durga. So all the Lakshmis come from her. Lakshmi. Next, and we have Sita, and above that, Dwaraka. All the Mahishis, the queens of Dwaraka, extensions from her. Then in Vrindavan, all the Brajagopis are extensions from her. So what capacity she has to serve Krishna and give pleasure and happiness to Krishna. So, so Saraswati Thakur is saying, we are Shuddha Shaktas. Because we're following her. It's her. Everything is coming from her. Our Krishna conception comes through her. Right? By way of Gauranga. Gauranga Mahaprabhu. As I said in the introductory slokas, Guru Rupa Harim Gauram. The Guru Rupa of Krishna. When Krishna takes the position of Guru, right? Guru Rupa Hari is Gaura, is Gauranga Mahaprabhu. And what is he doing? He's celebrating the heart of Srimati Radharani. He's saying, I was conquered by her. So much so that I also want to be a devotee. Right? We judge people like they're a great preacher and they converted this group or that group. She converted Krishna. What greater preacher is that than someone who could convert Krishna toward Krishna consciousness? That as Mahaprabhu. Hare Krishna. Yata yata gaura padara vinde vinde tabakshim krita punya rasi tata tatot sarpati hridya kasmat radha padam boja sudambu rasi. And Prabhodananda Saraswati Thakur was saying, Gaura Padar, the lotus feet of Gauranga Mahaprabhu, their Gaur Lila is the entrance to Krishna Lila. And by extension, Navadvip, every atom, Guru Maharaj said, every atom of Navadvip is capable of giving Vrindavan in full. Right? And the sankirtan of Mahaprabhu and his devotees is the rasa-lila in distribution mode. These are things that he has had. So, so they continue on the Brajamandal Parikrama. And they come to a place where a sannyasi, they say, innocently ask a question, because they're talking about the rasa-lila, that divine pastime. And we hear at some point, and it's to describe the supreme qualifications of Srimati Radharani. Anaya radito nunam bhagavan harir isvara yanno vihaya govinda prito yam anayadraha. Where the gopis, back in that soil of Vrindavan, they're seeing the lotus footprints of Krishna and Radharani. We mentioned something about that before. And the gopis there, because Krishna's left the Rasa-lila, and they're following their lotus footprints to try and find them. And they go, oh. And they won't say her name. It is that confidential. They just say, Anaya Radita. The one who worshiped Krishna the best. So best that he took her and left all of us. And they're like, oh. But they're thinking, how great she must be. He left 1 trillion gopis to go after one. Radha-madaya hridaye tatyaja braja sundari, the Gita Govinda jaya. 1 trillion minus one, we could say, isn't that more or less 1 trillion normally? But this one minus 1 trillion of this type, he leaves that trillion to go search for this one. That's, Guru said, quality gives us relief from mathematics. So it's a way of telling her she's a trillion-fold qualified. That's the way he's telling. We're being told that. So when they're seeing that, then they go, oh wait, now we only see his footprints. Oh, she must have said, like, I'm tired after all this singing and dancing. If you want to go further, you have to carry me. That's why they're only seeing one set of footprints then. Like, oh, she's so... Then Krishna carried her. How glorious and wonderful. But then we hear, this devotee asks, yes, but we hear after some time that Krishna set her down, and she's thinking, is there anyone who's more fortunate than I? No. And when she opens her eyes and sees, Krishna has vanished. Welcome to the Krishna consciousness movement. Right? Krishna minuses himself. And so this devotee innocently said, so how are we to understand that? And Govinda said, Saraswati Thakur was a little disturbed and raged and said, why do you mention that? There's no devotion to be found there. He couldn't tolerate hearing this apparent diminution of the prestige of Srimati Radharani. He can't hear that. As Das, in the song of Bhakti, Das Goswami can't tolerate, we hear, he's so deeply nourished in the upper world that in this world he takes some gall, buttermilk. And Indian buttermilk looks like whitewash. Mainly like water with little white flecks. It's not like they have in other places. It means after they took all the good stuff out, that's why they give it away freely on Madhukari, because they have a lot of it. And that's what Das Goswami is living on. And they bring it to him in a leaf cup. And one day he sees the leaf cup is a little different than what he normally sees. And he says, where's this from? They go, oh, these leaf cups are from Saki Stali. He goes, throws it away. Why? That's the place of Chandravali, Radharani's competition. He throws that like, don't even bring that. I need to bathe after touching that. Right? So he can't, Saraswati Thakur is in that line. Raghunath Das cannot hear such things. And that they go on. But Guru Maharaj, he's also in that line, the Rupanuga Dhara. So he knows that Radharani is always supreme under all circumstances. Even this apparent slight, she still must be in the supreme position. He knows that in his heart, and he will prove it as a servitor of Srila Saraswati Thakur. So he finds in Bhaktivinoda Thakur this apparent slight of Krishna. What is it? As we hear from Rupa Goswami, Abharam Kasyapi Pranayi Janavrindasya Kutuki. That observing her, Krishna is just so astonished that someone could love him that much, sacrifice herself. Wherever she casts her glance as Krishna, he must appear. When he played the trick on the Braja Gopis, he does this apparently frequently. He absents himself. Why? Because it increases the emotions of their hearts. And that substance that is achieved only in separation, that is what he is most addicted to. Baihe Vishajalahoy Bhitaraya Nandamoy Krishna-prem Adbhuta Charit. So Rupa Goswami says once he played this trick on Braja Gopis, like they go, there he is, he's, search for Sri Krishna, reality the beautiful. He's over there in that kunja. They run over there, and then when they get there, Krishna pushes out 2 more arms. And so when they reach there, they go, oh, Namo Narayan. And Rupa Goswami says, Radha-daya-kunjakutira. We can say, Vishnu and Narayana must be inconceivably beautiful. And these half-civilized, silly jungle girls cannot conceal their disappointment to not find Krishna. And what are they thinking? Like, but you are omniscient, Sri Narayan ji, so do you know where Krishna, you must know where he is. Please tell us. And we hear, when he tries to play a similar trick on Radharani, she comes and he pushes out forearms. And then when he makes eye contact with her, 2 arms disappear. He can only be Krishna. She has that power over him. He can't be something else. He can only be Swayam Bhagavan Krishna. She has that much control over Krishna. In his Govinda Lilamritam, Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami said, Brinda Devi comes, she's coming from the Radhakunda forest and to Radharani and Radharani. Well, where have you been? She said, I'm coming from Radhakunda, the banks and the forest and everything. Oh, what's going on there? You say, Krishna, he's learning dancing. Oh, it says Nritya Shiksha. He's learning how to dance. And Radharani said, who is his guru? Who's teaching him? And she said, your divine form, he's searching madly for and it's making him dance in all these peculiar ways. That's what's going on over there. Right? She has that much control over Krishna. Right? So, Guru Maharaj, he's examining this, Bhakti-vinod and says, that Krishna is so astonished by what is manifesting from the heart of Srimati Radharani and saying, dare I witness what happens to her in separation from me, Krishna Biraha. So he hides in a kunja. He's still there. He didn't leave her. And that way, Guru Maharaj proved that she's still in the supreme position. And from a hidden place, Krishna is watching her express separation. That's where Radha-bhav achieves its greatest magnitude and depth. And that's what convinces Krishna to descend as Gauranga Mahaprabhu and experience that. That's why Gurudev says, alluding to Rupa Goswami's sloka, if you want to understand Mahaprabhu, what is his tasting matter? As Krishna, the Adi Purusha, he knows everything about the joys of union. Why did he come as Mahaprabhu? To taste this peculiar, ecstatic joy that can only be experienced in the depths of separation. And that's what he's doing behind closed doors in the presence of Swarup Damodar and Ramananda Roy for the last 12 years of his manifest pastimes. And what does it say there? But that, it says, like how Radharani behaved at Uddhava Darshan. That's the way it's presented. And what does that mean? Brahmar Gita. Right? These are the two separation zenith points. Kurukshetra and the Brahmar Gita. And that Brahmar Gita, this 10 different types of mad talks. Right? Pralapita Bhakya. Mahaprabhu was saying, did I say some mad things when I was in my deepest trance? Pralapita Bhakya and Prajalpa means mad, seemingly nonsensical talks, just madness, but the deepest sort of heart expression there. And one Guru Maharaj, I told before, that's his specialty. Babaji Maharaj, Ban Maharaj, others, they like to hear him say something about that. We cannot, but you heard Guru Maharaj say something. But one verse there is somewhat approachable, where we hear she's saying, Yadanu charita lila karna piyusha viprut. sakreda danda danda dharma vinashta danda dharma dinamutridam bahua vihanga bhikkhu charjam charanti yaranu charita lila karna piyusha viprut sakreda danda bituta danda dharma vinashta. She's saying, one drop of hearing about Krishna and your life is ruined. That's the opening line. You say, like, should we tell this? Like when we're preaching? To people and say, what is Krishna consciousness? Say, one drop of hearing about Krishna, your life is ruined. It's like when Rupa Goswami said, if you want to remain attached to the persons, places, things of this world, don't go and see Govinda on the banks of the Jamuna, his threefold bending form, and the sweet sound of his flute. Don't do that. So she's saying, one drop of this nectar of Krishna, your life is ruined. But our Acharya will say, what does that mean? Your material life is finished. Stane stita shrutigatam tanuban manobir. Mahaprabhu said, this is the starting point. Hearing these things about Krishna, reality, the beauty, hearing from his agents, from Krishna's agents. So anyway, and so in that verse, and she's saying, and then you end up bhikkhu charja bahuva bihanga bhikkhu charjam charanti, and you'll be like the birds of the world. They're just wandering around apparently aimlessly, and they get a little something here and there, they're somehow surviving. But these birds, we will hear from our Acharya. What is she saying? This drop of nectar, Krishna-charana-padma, Krishna nectar for the ear that touches the heart. What is that bird you'll be like? The hangsa, swan, and paramahansa. It'll have the effect of converting one into a Paramahansa Vaishnava. So many things are given there. So, in this way, Srila Guru Maharaj re-established her position, and we just say this, that, and when Guru Maharaj was as Bhaktivinoda Thakur made the Bhagavat Arka Marichi Mala, the 18,000 raid Krishna son of Bhagavatam, he's taking 1,000 such raids and presenting them there. Guru Maharaj had in mind to make a collection of like 200 or 300 slokas. He wrote some of the introductory ones, the prayer to Veda Vyas, the Gadadhar Pranam, but remember, he's extracting from the Bhagavatam. So he says, Yadamiyam mahima Sri Bhagavatyam katayam pratipatam anubhutam apya labdavideya tadakila rasamurti shamalila avalambam madura rasadi Sri Radha padapadmam prapadye. Although, as we mentioned previously, her name ostensibly is not mentioned in the pages of the Bhagavatam, but every sloka, every step of the way is meant to take us in one direction, the service of her holy lotus feet. That is the message of the Bhagavatam. Okay. So, and when Bhaktivinoda Thakur did, like Dham Parikrama with Srila Saraswati Thakur in Vrindavan, he dropped this enigmatic saying. He said, we all know Vrindavan is for the hollow, shallow thinkers. And apparently everyone did not know that. This is highly contextual. And he said, what? We thought Vrindavan, that's reserved for the highest section of liberated souls? And he's telling, it's for the shallow, hollow people, Vrindavan. And he said, a man of real bhajan will prefer Kurukshetra. And then we think, what? That's where Krishna spoke the Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna? No, not that Kurukshetra. What Kurukshetra? Where Krishna and the queens of Dwaraka meet Srimati Radharani and the Braja Gopis of Vrindavan. That meeting, that place, that juncture. A man of real bhajan will prefer to focus there. And you go, why? And we say this is highly contextual. And what he means to say, what is Vrindavan famous for? Milan. All these divine, the pastimes of union. But we just said that separation yields a superior type of prem or divine love than union. Right? The heart, grows greater depth, and then union is so much more enjoyable. Guru Maharaj gave a simple example. Hunger. When there's great hunger, then there's so much relish. If you have no hunger and so much wonderful food is before you, no, what Gurudev would say, no appetitus. Something like that. Maharaj, I have no appetitus. But if you have great hunger, then you're relishing every morsel because of that hunger. That's the secret. Mentioned by Sanatana Goswami at the end, the conclusion of Brihad Bhagavatamritam. So, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, the expert, saying, so where does then it would be, where does separation achieve its zenith point? Well, then Kurukshetra. That's why Mahaprabhu's annual celebration with his devotees of Rath Yatra is not peripheral, anecdotal, or any such thing. It's central to Gaur Lila. So, and what happens there after 100 years of separation? Atati yad bhavan anikananam trutir yugayate tvamapashyatam tilakundalam srimukham jite yada adikshasam pakshmakridrisham. The Braja Gopis are cursing the creator Brahma for making eyes that blink. So they can't tolerate an eye blink's worth of separation from Krishna. Feels like a yuga to them. That they're cursing, saying Brahma, he's foolish, he doesn't know how to make eyes. They should be unblinking, always open. In one place, Radharani said, I wish I had eyes like fish eyes. They're just always open. Right? And have a great, what do you call that? Peripheral, like, they see everything. Huh? Fish eye, like the fish eye lens. She's saying like, I wish I had eyes like that. And they don't blink. I need eyes like that for Krishna. And she's saying, what kind of a fool would only give you 2 ears if you've heard the sweet sound of Krishna's flute? And 1 tongue to vibrate his name? You need millions of tongues and millions of ears. He doesn't know what he's doing. Remember, they're half-civilized, posing as half-civilized silly jungle girls. And they know everything. They're the ultimate exalted souls. So, who cannot tolerate an eye blink's worth of separation, been separated for 100 years, their hearts are beyond the breaking point. They've achieved the greatest depth. And now at last they're going to meet Krishna. Krishna comes from Dwaraka, Radharani comes with Braja Gopis. And we're told those Dwaraka queens that they're thinking, they know how beautiful they are. They are inconceivably beautiful. But they've heard some things about Krishna's childhood sweetheart, his teenage sweetheart, and they're thinking amongst themselves, like, how beautiful could she be? This we have to see. We need to get a glimpse of her to see. Sometimes people talk and they exaggerate, right? Like poets. We never know. They're talking about some, what was there objectively. How beautiful. And so we're told, the queens of Dwarka are there, Garga's telling you, Radharani and Brajagop, they're carrying her on a palanquin. Okay? And the queens of Dwarka, who are inconceivably beautiful, when they have their first glimpse of the beauty of Srimati Radharani, they all faint. She's so beautiful, they can't maintain, they just faint. Faint-inducing beauty. That's all we can say, by inference. But then long at last to meet Krishna, and then they see Krishna in the dress of a king, the Dwarka Maharaj, and they're thinking, where is his flute? What kind of Krishna doesn't have a flute? And where is his Gopavesh? his cowherd dress, and the peacock feather. What kind of Krishna is this? What happened? You leave Vrindavan and this? They're disappointed. And they can't conceal the disappointment. After all this time, and Guru Maharaj said it's like in the football game. And we've heard in our East London Mat, there used to be a stadium there, and you hear 100,000 people. And they and almost score a goal, and you hear 100,000 people go, oh! When you hear 100,000 people moan and sigh and they can't take it because they got so close to the goal and then it just missed. That is Guru Maharaj's example of the groan that comes from the Braja Gopis to see all this time and there are no flute, no Gopavish, no Jamuna, no... Then you think, what is in their heart? Isn't this close enough? Right? Dwarka Krishna? No. Narayana Vaikuntha? No. Then you think, what is in the heart of the Braja Gopis? That they're dismissing the Lord of Vaikuntha, dismissing the Lord of Dwarka. And they represent their position to him, Radharani, as their representative. And then, who's Chaitanya Lina Nava Padaravindam, Yogeshware Hridivijantam Agada Bodhe, Sangsara Kupa Patito Tananavalambam, Gehum Jasamapi Manasuriyat Sadhana. Radharani, you sent this letter. After I overcame my divine madness of the Brahma Gita, they showed me the letter that you wrote, that we should take up yoga and learn how to meditate in separation from you. He says, you know who we are. We're not yogis or gyanis. We're going to engage in the systematic understanding of the world. And you said, God is everywhere. Was that some kind of a joke? God is everywhere. We're not interested in the Paramatma or this, that, or Brahma, any such thing. She said, you know who we are. Who are we? We're fallen householders. That's who we are. Sangsara Kupa Patito, that's who we are. And you know that very well. And we won't be satisfied with anything less than you. Your lotus feet back in Vrindavan, and your real uniform, the Gopavesh, the Venu court, playing on the flute on the banks of the Jamuna under the moonlit night, that we want. And that's the only acceptable Krishna to us. And then Krishna has to finally come out. Mai bhaktir hi bhutanam amritatyaya kalpate dishtad manasin mat sneho bhavatinam madapana. He's saying, everyone in the world wants me. Directly or indirectly. Read the Bhagavatam, the nutshell sloka. Directly or indirectly. There's nothing other than Krishna. Right? But if you can get Krishna, Paramatma, then people will think they've hit the lottery. Right? They got Krishna. And it's true. He's saying, but what about me? That's good for everyone. What about me? He's saying, I consider it to be my good fortune that I am the object of the spotless, pure, unparalleled virtue is its own reward, love and affection that is in your hearts. That makes me feel like I am the fortunate one. And when Radharani hears that, then she goes, all right, we can go now. He's still ours. He's always been ours. He can never be anything and only ours. What is we hear in the song? All the Vedas declare that Krishna is the property of Radharani and her girlfriends. That's amazing. They own Krishna. Therefore, they can give Krishna. No one else can. Not real Krishna. Substantial Krishna. So, and what is that central pastime in Mahaprabhu? This, why Bhaktivinoda said, there, the separation is so great, the heart has reached such level of heartbreak, the depth, the magnitude of heartbreak, of Krishna Viraha, of separation at that point, is so extreme. Bhaktivinoda Thakur was saying, if you can render any type of service to Srimati Radharani, Radha-dasa, through her agents, at that point, saying the remuneration that will come back to you is inconceivable. It exceeds the constitutional capacity of a jiva soul to experience. Right? It contradicts, the spiritual laws of physics, you can say. And what does he mean by that? He's saying, Srimati Radharani, at her greatest time of need, as Guru Maharaj said, service according to the intensity of its necessity draws remuneration. This is where her service necessity is greatest. If you can serve at that time, the greatest remuneration. He's saying, what is she doing? He's saying, out of gratitude, she's saying, she has a plate of maha-bhav. She is maha-bhav swarupini, maha-bhav chintami. She has a plate of maha-bhav. And she's saying, out of gratitude, here, have a taste of what we're tasting. Right? But we're told, no one can experience. That's what she's saying. Here, this is a special dispensation. Have a taste of what we're tasting. And Srila Guru Maharaj said, when you have a taste of that divine substance, what to speak of all other taste? All other rasas become tasteless. Raso varjam rasopyasra param drisva nivartate. And Guru Maharaj about himself, he said, so for me, he said, it's Gauranga and Radharani. And I'm just, these are his words, I'm just saying, so you can know who he is. He goes, for me, Gauranga, Mahaprabhu, and Radharani. Everything else is trash. That's a statement from His Divine Grace, Om Vishnupad, Srila Bhakti Rakak, Sridhar Dev Goswami. So then you can understand whose camp he's in. And just to conclude with this, so we were telling those wonderful prayers, how it's always Krishna consciousness is measured in the inverse, right? The imitationists are making ostentatious displays of achievement. The actual devotees are expressing the greatest magnitude of eagerness or appreciation for the least aspect of something. That's the secret. Then you say, oh, that's the one who possesses the greatest feelings, love, emotion, etc., who express it for the least aspect, not the overt. So in that first prayer of Prabhodananda Saraswati Thakur, Radha-rasa-sudha-nidhi, like Prabhodananda, his other prayer, Tatatat sarpati hridya kasmat radha padam bodha suram barasi Guru saying. And at the lotus feet of, concentrating the lotus feet of Mahaprabhu, Guru and Gauranga, then automatically, subconsciously, deep within the core of your heart, the Radha-rasa-sudha-nidhi begins to flow. So back, first verse in praise of Mahaprabhu, next verse, saying, how great is Srimati Radharani, that yasya kadapi vasananjala kelanota danyati danya pavanena kritartamani yogendram durgamagati marusudanopi tasya namostu brishabhanu bhubodishepi. How great is she? Back to this greatest appreciation for the least. If she's moving in the plane of service and some of the breeze from her skirt will come upon Krishna. Right? The breeze, when we talk about least. Right? So not direct kind. The breeze that came from her, that comes upon Krishna. That Krishna, it says, Yogendram, the kings of the yogis who are ever aspiring to have a glimpse of that Krishna. They cannot, Durgama, I mean, very rarely do they have a glimpse of him, but what is his position? If that breeze from her skirt comes upon Krishna, he thinks he's achieved the supreme treasure, the supreme wealth has come upon. How fortunate he is. So what does Prabhodananda Saraswati Asta Saki Tunga Vidya say? Extract from there. Then, if that's how Krishna feels, coming in connection with the breeze that emanated from her dress, Tasya namostu vrishabhanu bubodhishepi. Then I worship the direction in which she appeared is worshipable to me. You say, it's that direction. That direction is worshipable to me. The greatest amount of appreciation for the least aspect reveals the magnitude of devotion. So that is there in this line, the Rupa Nuga line, as expressed by Srila Guru Maharaj, Srila Gurudev, Srila Prabhupada, Srila Saraswati Thakur, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and just this will be the final conclusion of the conclusions. Sri Gauranubhatam Swarupa Viditam Rupagrajain Adritam Rupadye Pariveshitam Raghuganai Ashwaritam Sevitam Rupadye the next line Rupadye Pariveshitam Raghuganai Ashwaritam Sevitam Jivade Abharakshitam Sukha Shiva Brahma Samanitam and Urava Sri Radha Padasevinamritam Aho Tadatum Ishobhavan. Oh, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, this is your gift to the world. What is that? What Mahaprabhu brought down to this world in the form of the Krishna consciousness movement, that as we said yesterday, is known only fully to Swarup Damodar, worshipped by Sanatana Goswami, distributed by Rupa Goswami in the Rupa Nuga line, the access, and extended to Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami, Raghunath Das Goswami, to Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami, Jiva Jaya and Jiva Goswami, Baladev Vidyabhushan, they're guardians, Rakhaks, protecting this divine substance from adulteration, misuse, imitation, from those who would challenge its authenticity. Right? Jiva, Jaya, Sukha, Shiva, Brahma, Urva, they're all aspiring for a drop of this divine substance. Then what is it? And that is Bhaktivinoda Thakur's gift to the world. Sri Radha Padasevinamritam, the service of the holy lotus feet of Srimati Radharani, Radha Dasyam. That is Bhaktivinoda Thakur's gift to the world in the form of the Krishna consciousness movement. And this day, as Saraswati Thakur said, the best of all days shall be a joyous celebration of the heart of Srimati Radharani and its extension, the Krishna consciousness movement. Hare Krishna. Sri Radhashtami Maha-Mahotsavati ki jai. Nitai Go Premanande. You want to sing? You who are turning around. When I think Radhe jaya jaya Madhava-dayite, I don't know if I can sing at this moment. If you could sing that. Prati anga lage kande prati anga more. You sing Radharani, every atom of my existence is crying out for its correspondent, which is Krishna. Yeah. Radhashtami ki jai, Shri Radhashtami Mahaprabhu ki jai. Jaya Vishnupada Paramahansa Radhika-charana-padma Sri Srimati Radharani Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Jaya Vishnupada Radhika-charana-padma Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Bhagavan Saraswati Thakur ki jai. Sri Rupananda Guru Varga ki jai. Jai Saparikar Sri Guru Gauranga Radha-bhajan Guru ki jai. Divya Dindarani Kapadu Madhava-dayite Srimati Radharani Govinda Devo Krishnagi Sevimani Swarami ki jai. Sri Rupananda Guru Varga ki jai. Namacharya Sudhir Thakur ki jai. Sri Krishna Chaitanya-charitamrita Sri Radha-rasa-sudha-nidhi ki jai. Sri Radha-krishna Goswami Radhakundatata-kunjakutira ki jai. Vrindavan ki jai. Madhava-dayite ki jai. Radha-rasa-sudha-nidhi ki jai. Sri Prabhodananda ki jai. Sri Chaitanya-charitamrita ki jai. Gauranga Bhakti ki jai. Krishna-bhajan Maharaja ki jai. Krishna-bhajan Srimati Radharani ki jai. Kirtan ki jai. Bhakti ki jai. Om Vishnupada Vishvadaranya Sri Prabhodananda Prabhupada ki jai. Sri Chaitanya-charitamrita Acharya Vrinda ki jai. Jai Sri Bhakti Maharaj ki jai. Sannasi Vrinda ki jai. Bhakti Lalita Devi Dasi ki jai. Seva Vrinda ki jai. Sannadeva Bhakti Vrinda ki jai. Nithai Gopanandi Srimati Radharani Radhashtami Mahaprabhu ki jai. Nithai Gopanandi. There's Nityananda Das doing the translation here in Russian, Pranari Sri Didi in Espanol. Rasananda Prabhu in Ukraine, Dandavat, Sankarshan Prabhu is here, Triloganath Das, Kum Didi, Dandavat, Purushottama Prabhu, Lila Purushottama. In Salt Lake City, Dandavat, Dhananjaya Prabhu, Dandavat, Anandamoyi, in China, Dandavat, perhaps. Priyanana Didi, in Lakta, Dandavat, Darya, Dandavat, Leelamoy, Prabhu, Dandavat, Madhuranan, Prabhu, Krishna, Dandavat, Pavel Brun, Prabhu in Moscow, Dandavat, Chaitanya-moyi and Dhananjaya Prabhu in Roma, Dandavat, Hare Krishna, Malini Didi in Orsk, Dandavat, Suresh Krishna Prabhu, Latvia, and what is that, Rejka something? Know the name of the town? Anyway, we know where he is. Wherever he is, there's Krishna consciousness. Praise Krishna Prabhu, he, Dandavat. Gokula Taruni Didi, Dandavat. What an auspicious name. Radha-Raman Prabhu in Ukraine, Dandavat. Divya Shakti Didi, Dandavat. Seva Rupa and Kaila in South Africa, Dandavat. Madhavi-lata Didi in Odessa, Dandavat. Damodar Prabhu, Dandavat. Shanti Moyi in Govinda, Dandavat. Ajita Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat. Leela Sundari Didi, Dandavat. Abhinava Sundar and Keli Kadambanana in Australia, Dandavat. Govinda, Govindadam, Lilavadi from Ukraine. Or that's the kitchen here, right? In Gupta Govinda. Udaran Prabhu, Dandavat. Brinda, the name, Brinda Devi Dasi. Kalindi Priya's mom, and Nizhny Novgorod, Dandavat. Anjali Didi and Kiselni, Dandavat. Dharini Sundari Didi and Abazia, Dandavat. Rupa Vilas Prabhu in the Philippines, Dandavat. Yuri, Dandavat. Ajit Leela Sundar Prabhu in Ukraine, Dandavat. This is Srimad Bhakti Ashray Dande Maharaj, Dandavat. Prafula Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat. And Jai Srila Bhakti Ranjan Madhusudan Maharaj, Dandavat. Hare Krishna. Lakshmi Priya Didi, Dandavat. Nalina Nayana in China, Dandavat. Hare Krishna. Leelavadi Didi, Dandavat. Laktadam devotees, Dandavat. Paramananda Prabhu in Japan, Dandavat. Jamuna's mother, Elena, Dandavat. Ajitasha, Dandavat. Anindita Didi, Dandavat. That's everyone, correct? Ekadashi Didi. Oh, Sandeep, Krishna Prabhu and Maheshwari Didi. Dandavat. Tarun, Krishna in Moscow, Dandavat. Doyal, Gaur Prabhu, Dandavat. Ekadashi and Tomsk. And Anjali in Ukraine, Dandavat. Kamala Didi, Dandavat. Anjali in Vilas, Dandavat. Sulalita Didi in Orsk, Dandavat. Is that everyone? Abhazia. The Abhazia Bhakta Vrinda and Sripad Bhakti Seva Nrishikesh Maharaj. Oh. And Vijay Raman Prabhu Ki Jai. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Jai. Wherever Vijay is, there will be victory. A glory. Slava Vijay. Slava. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Vanchakalpa Turvyashta Kripa Sindhu Vevata Patitanam Pavanevyo Vaishnavevyo Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna.
Maharaj, you speak Russian without any accent.
Hare Krishna. She's a very sweet girl. She's growing all the time. Every month or two you'll take her.
Yeah. Really big now.
Yeah, we have a team of 5 girls.
Really?
Yeah, we have new arrivals. Indira
Yes.
from Ukraine.
Hare
She
Krishna.
arrived last night.
Oh, okay.
Indira and her daughter. Amelia?
Leela.
Leela.
Oh, very nice.
Huh?
So now we have 5 little girls.
5 girls.
All right. And they're behaving very nicely.